Hi friends, this is Arjun here. Welcome to my networking channel. Hope all are doing good. And today the topic I'm going to discuss about how to configure OSPF routing protocol through GUI. So I have connected to Fortigate firewall via WAN link, that is port 1. One IP is 192.168.1.1 and the other end IP is 192.168.1.2. So each and every firewall has three directly connected ports. So one port is for WAN port, that is port 1, and port 2 is for LAN port, where I connected PC1 and PC2. So the PC1 IP is 10.2 and the gateway is 10.1, and PC2 IP is 192.168.20.2 and the gateway is 20.1. Okay, and port 3 is for connect accessing the GUI. Okay, so this IP is 84.52 and 84.53. So prior to the configuration, first let us quickly configure the port 3 for accessing the web GUI of this FortiGate firewall 1 and 2. So in this particular architecture, I am going to show you how to configure OSPF routing protocol through web GUI of firewall, right? So for prior to that, let us configure. So let us go to the CLI mode of firewall 1, okay? And now let us configure the GUI. So you can configure via this command is config system interface edit port 3. So this way I'm going to configure for port 3 and the IP is 84.52 and the mask is 224-bit mask, and I'm going to allow HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, so just quickly copy this and paste it in the configuration. Just go here and just paste it. It will save the configuration. So now let us view the configuration. So system interface port 3. So now 84.52 is already we have configured, right? Similar way, let us quickly configure so if you have multiple interfaces, this is the best way we can configure, okay? So either via this or we can configure via some other automation methods also. This is the easy way we can configure. And now let us configure the second interface, that is, so the first GUI we configured, second GUI for this firewall 2 is 84.53. So let us, I'm just editing only the IP and just copy it and paste it on the second interface. Just end. It will save the configuration, show system interface port 3. Okay, so we have done the GUI port. So now let us configure the LAN and the WAN port of firewall 1 and 2. So the WAN is 192.168.1.1 and the port is port 1. So let us edit from here only. Okay, so the port is port 1 and the IP is 1.1 and I'm going to allow only ping access. Okay, so let us configure from this particular firewall 1. Go here and just it will save the configuration. So system interface port 1, that is a WAN port I already configured. Okay, now let us configure the LAN port. LAN port is 192.168.10.1 of firewall 1. Okay, so 10.1 let us configure. So name it as 10.1 and the port 2. Okay, so just copy it and paste it on firewall 1. Okay, so now let us view the configuration. Show system interface port 2. So this is a LAN port also we have configured. Similar configuration, let us configure for LAN and WAN of firewall 2. Okay, so only thing I need to change the IP. So the WAN port is 1.2, so let us change the IP to 1.2. So this will save our time also. Okay, so port is port 1, right? So this is port 1. Okay, so just copy it, that is 1.2, and copy to the second firewall and save the configuration. And how about the WAN port? So this is LAN port, right? LAN port is port 2 and IP is 20.1. So edit the port detail as port 2 and the IP is 20.1. Okay, just copy and paste it here. So we have saved the configuration. So now let us access the GUI port. So I'm going to show via GUI what are things we can configure is we can configure the policies and the OSPF routing protocol, and let us view the interface configuration also what we have done via CLI, right? So just open the Chrome browser, okay, and access the first firewall. So 192.168.84.52 is the first firewall. Okay, it will prompt for the username and password. Second firewall is 84.53. Okay, so go here, go to the username is admin and the password, just log in. Similar way, go to the second firewall also. So now let us log in with the first firewall and also the second firewall, and let us now we already configure the interfaces. Let us view the configuration. Go to network interfaces. Okay, so we already configured the LAN and the WAN port via CLI. Let us go to the configuration and let us view it. So the WAN port is port 1, that is 192.168.1.1. So here only one thing I'm going to edit is alias name. I'm editing as WAN. Okay, so just click OK. Ping communication is already enabled, and the second port we have configured is LAN port, that is 10.1, right? Just click here and just name it as LAN port and also the role as LAN. Okay, just click OK. So here also WAN port we have configured WAN port, and the role also we have configured as a WAN port. Okay, so similar way for the second firewall also. Go to network interfaces and we have to click port 1. So the port 1 is WAN, so just click role as WAN port. Okay, and the IP is 1.2, ping is already enabled. Similar way for the other communication also. 20.1 is a LAN port, so just set the role as LAN. Okay, and just click OK. So we are done with the initial configuration. Now let us ping the interfaces, directly connect interfaces, that is 10.1 and 1.1. Here 20.1 and 1.2 let us ping. Okay, so let us go here. So execute ping 192.168.1.1 and also 10.1 I am able to reach, and also from the second firewall, that is 4.2, execute ping 192.168.1.2 and 20.1. Okay, so as per the architecture it's 1.2 and 20.1. So here 1.1 and 10.1 I'm able to ping. So now let us also, I'm going to define a loopback address. I'm going to show you how we can define a loopback address. Okay, just click here. This is a loopback interface, or if you want to create one more interface, just go to create new interface and just we can create another loopback. So just change the thing as loop interface and name it as loop 1. Okay, here also give loop 1. Okay, and the mask will IP will give, going to give 1.1.1. Okay, this is the second firewall, right? So let us give 2.2.2/25.25.25.25 and enable the ping communication. Just click OK. And similar way, let us go to the first firewall and define the loopback address. Create new interface and just change the type as loop interface. Okay, and name it as loop 1. Okay, and the IP I'm going to give is 1.1.1/255.255.255.255. So this loopback address I'm going to advertise as a router ID in case of the OSPF. Since I'm going to configure the OSPF, so I'm going to advertise the loopback address 1.1.1 here. I'm going to set it as a router ID. Here also 2.2.2. And now let us ping the loopback address also. So execute ping 1.1.1. I'm able to reach from the first firewall. Second firewall loopback is 192. It is 2.2.2. 2.2.2. And how to view the loopback is show system interface loop 1. So this is a way we can view the loopback configuration. Let us go here, show system interface loop 1. Okay, so we have configured the basic interfaces. Now what I'm going to do, let us configure the routing protocol, that is OSPF. Let us, okay, so go to the interface mode, go to the configuration, GUI configuration, go to interfaces and click OSPF. And first I'm going to define the router ID. So here router ID is 1.1.1. So always you have to define the router ID, and then the area is 0.0.0. Okay, so the here OSPF router ID we have to define here. Okay, 1.1.1. Then we have to create the area. So the area is 0.0.0 we have defined. Okay, 0.0.0.0. Just the OSPF area is a regular area. Just click OK. Now let us create the networks. Okay, the network is 192.168.1.1 and 192.168.10 network. See, these both the networks I am going to advertise via OSPF. Just click create new. Okay, and the area is 0. What we have defined, the area is a backbone area, and the IP is 192.168.1.1/255.255.255.0. Okay, so that's the IP. And the second, that is this, but this is a particular network 192.168.1. network, and the second network is 0. Okay, all I'm going to configure the backbone area. So this network is 192.168.10.0, right? So 192.168.10.0/55.55.55.0. Okay, so all these networks I'm going to advertise in this particular backbone area, that is area 0.0.0. And here we have, prior to that, first we have to set the router ID, then set the backbone area, then we have to add the networks in the corresponding area. Additionally, I have to advertise the loopback address also. So this loopback is 1.1.1. So let us add it over here. Okay, so area is 0 and 1.1.1 slash 55.55.55.55. Just click OK. So now I added the loopback address also. Just apply the changes. Okay, so now we have configured the OSPF routing protocol for firewall 1, and the second firewall also. Let us define the backbone area, and then let us add these two networks, 20.network and 1.network. Okay, so and router ID we have to define here 2.2.2. Okay, create the area. Backbone areas 0.0.0.0. It's a regular area. Just click OK. Now let us create the network. So there are two networks, right? One is 192.168.1.0/55.55.55.0. Just click OK. And the second network is 20.0. Okay, so area 0.0.0, 192.168.20.0/55.55.55.0. Just click OK. And the one more network is nothing but a loopback address is 2.2.2. So let us advertise the loopback address also. Okay, so let us go to here and create new. Area is 0.0 and network is 2.2.2/25.55.55.55. Just click OK and just apply the configuration. Okay, so we are done with the directly connected interfaces as per the architecture, and also we have configured the OSPF. So now let us check the OSPF neighbor relationship from both firewall 1 and 2. Let us go to firewall 1. How to check is get router info. So in Cisco will do show OSPF neighbor sum or show OSPF database, right? So here it is like get router info OSPF neighbor. So this will show the neighbor information 2.2.2. That is the loopback address of the firewall 2, and it is in already is a full mode state, and it is showing the address 192.168.1.2 and the interface is port 1. And similarly, let us go to the second firewall. That is get router info OSPF neighbor. It is showing here, right? So the neighbor already relationship is formed, and also we can check the get router OSPF. Okay, get router info OSPF. You can check all these information like database and the neighbor and the status. Okay, so we can check the database also, or we can check the interface. So interface it is showing, it is already up, right? So now what I'm going to do is, now let us ping the loopback address. Execute ping 1.1.1. I'm able to reach. And how about the remote neighbor? Remote neighbor is 2.2.2. That loopback I should be in a position to ping. Let us ping. So still I'm not able to reach the loopback. Why? Because I have to still configure the policy. Even for the communication between the loopback address from this firewall 1 and 2, I have to configure a policy from the loopback to the WAN port. Okay, I'm going to show you how we can configure the policy. And also let us check the communication from PC1 to PC2. Let us go here. So the PC1 IP is show 10.2, right? So ping 192.168.10.1. I'm able to reach 10.2, and now let us check the 1.2. So still I'm not able to reach this particular end WAN port from this particular LAN. That means I have to add three rules. One is for LAN to WAN and WAN to LAN, and another rule is for allowing this loopback address from the WAN to LAN. Okay, so I have to allow from WAN to loopback address. That is the third rule. So three rules I have to create, or we can say it is a three policies we have to create. One for WAN to LAN, LAN to WAN communication, and also from the WAN to this loopback address what you created, what you defined over here. So these three rules are mandatory in firewall 1 and 2 for the communication between PC1 and PC2. So even though I configure this OSPF routing protocol, it is mandatory to configure the policies in case of OSPF. So now let us define the policies from firewall 1 and 2. So go to just policies. Okay, so go to policy and objects, IPv4 policy, and just let us create a new policy. Okay, so let us, by default, an implicit deny policy will be there that will not allow the communication. Let us override that. So make it as rule 1, and the incoming interface is from WAN to LAN. Okay, so now let us check it out. So the interface is from port 1 to port 2. Let us say port 1 and to port 2, and the source is all, and destination is all, and service is also all, and just click OK. And the second rule is from port 2 to port 1. So this I am configuring from port 2, that is firewall 2. Okay, and the second rule is, so go to rule 2. So we have to configure from port 1, port 2, and source is all, and service should be all, and just click OK. So now let us check it out. So first rule what I have done, port 1 to port 2, and the second rule what we have created is port 2 to port 1. Okay, two rules we have created. So now let us check the communication. So first rule is port 1 to port 2. Now let us edit this rule. Okay, one is for port 1 to port 2, WAN to LAN, and second is for LAN to WAN communication, right? So let us edit this rule. Okay, let us make it as port 2 to port 1. Okay, so let us edit this rule. Just double click this rule, and this one let us define as port 2 to port 1. Okay, so just click OK. And similar way, this third communication is for this particular WAN to port 1 to this loopback address I have to define. Okay, these three rules are mandatory. So now let us create new and add the rule as rule 3, and the communication is from this particular WAN to this loopback interface. Okay, so WAN port is port 1. Okay, port 1 and to the loopback address, and the source should be all, and the destination should be all, and the service should be all. Okay, so here I have to define this alias as LAN and WAN, but in case of firewall 2 I not define. That's the reason I'm giving the specific port. Okay, so that's the only different. Just click OK. So three rules we added successfully in case of port 2. Now let us go to the firewall 1. Okay, just log in. And now let us configure the similar rules in case of firewall 1 also. One is for WAN to LAN, LAN to WAN communication, and WAN to the loopback port. Okay, so go to the firewall policies. Okay, just click policy and objects, IPv4 policy, and create new. So by default implicit deny policy is there. Just create new and just add the rule as rule 1. So here you can see the WAN, because we added the alias in the second firewall we have not added, right? So just WAN to LAN port. Okay, source should be all, destination should be all, service should be all, and just click OK. And the second rule is from LAN to WAN port. So three rules are mandatory. Go to create new, rule 2. So LAN port to the WAN port. Source should be all, destination should be all, and the service also should be all, and just click OK. Now the third rule what we have to do is we have to create a rule from the WAN to the loopback port what you create. Otherwise we cannot ping between the loopback address between the firewall 1 and 2. Okay, so create new and just add the rule as 3. Incoming interface WAN port to the loopback port. Source should be all, and the destination should be all, and the service should be all. Just click OK. So now first initially what we can do, we can let us check the communication between PC1 and PC2, PC2 and PC1. Then let us check the loopback address. Okay, so let us go here and let us ping. So ping 192.168.1.1 I am able to reach. 1.2 also I am able to reach from PC1. Now let us check this interface. Okay, 20.1 and 20.2. So that means from PC1 to PC2 the communication is successful. So now let us check from PC2 to PC1. Okay, so ping 192.168.1.1 I am able to reach. 10.2 I am able to reach. So I am able to successfully ping between PC1 and PC2. So now let us check the loopback communication between firewall 1 and 2. So here I have defined the loopback as 1.1 and here as 2.2. So okay, let us ping the communication. So let us go here and ping. So let us ping from here. Okay, so go to admin port and ping from here. Ping, execute ping. So 2.2.2. I am able to reach from firewall 1 to firewall 2 because we added the rule for the third rule is like from the WAN to the loopback port. Okay, I'm able to ping, and also let us ping from the second firewall also. So go to the second firewall, login, and ping the first firewall loopback address. Execute ping 1.1.1. Okay, so I should be in a position to ping my first firewall also. So now I'm able to ping from the 4.2 to firewall 1, that is the loopback address, and also I'm able to successfully ping from the firewall 1 to the second firewall loopback address. So this is how we can enable the OSPF routing protocol, and also we can check the interfaces. Okay. So also I can check the routing entries. You are able to see here, right? So I'm able to learn the remote networks 2.2.2 via OSPF routing protocol, and also the remote network from the port 1 is 20. So 20 and 2.2 are the remote networks learned via the OSPF routing protocol, and also I'm able to successfully ping. And also let us check from the firewall 2. So the command is get router info, okay, info OSPF route. So okay, we're able to see the remote network is 1.1.1. I'm able to ping, and also the 10 dot network is also learned. Okay, so this is how we can enable the OSPF routing protocol via. We can enable the OSPF routing protocol in the Fortigate firewall. So the main thing you have to remember is first we have to configure the directly connected interfaces. Then we have to configure the policies and the OSPF routing protocol, right? So I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos. Thanks and have a wonderful day. Thank you.